Hello, this is old Mr. Kent of MrKent.com, and in a previous video, I don't remember, a couple of videos back, I flew my Mavic Air 2, and the reason being is because here in Arizona, the temperature in the sun gets really quite warm. And so then, number one, my iPhone goes dim, and I can't see where I am or anything. It's just you can't see what the drone's looking at. And then also the smart controller, which works with the Mavic Air 2, it has a nice bright screen, and that's very much better as far as flying the drone. And here in Arizona, the bright sun, you can still see it. Of course, if you're in a shadow, it's even better. But so what happened was my brother, because my birthday is coming up, and my brother sent me a battery, a Mavic Mini battery, the little black batteries. He had already sent me one, and then the other day, here comes one, and he bought me another one. So out of honor to him, I decided, okay, I'm going to take my my DJI Mini 2, take it up and fly, and I'll also compare the how far it goes compared to the Mavic Air 2, which kind of stopped up here going down this road just a little ways. But also, I have a story for you, and it's a conclusion to the story in the previous video where my wife and I were camping out at Lions Ferry State Park in Washington State along the Snake River, and we decided to leave, and we got stuck in a storm, and we had all kinds of things. You'll have to listen to the story to get the details. But so we finally came out of there with the Sea King motor that I got at Sears. And at the end of that video, I just said, and we headed home. And the reason I had to say that was because I was running out of time. The video was running out before I was ready to finish telling stories. So as it turned out then, I didn't get to finish the details of that trip. So on this video, I'll finish that up, because we didn't just head home. Instead, take a look at the map here. We left Lions Ferry, and we followed the river, which would be west, and then right about here, that's where the engine quit. And so further down the river, there's a little town called Ayer, and it's a railroad town. They used to refuel locomotives there and give them water and stuff. But anyway, it's still a railroad town. And so we had camped in that little cove across from it before, and the storm was so bad, I decided we're just going to sail in there. And you can see, by the way, the Mini 2 went a little further down the road than the Mavic Air 2 did, and so with the smart controller. Smart controller is a nice controller, but it does have its issues. So anyway, I'll get the story going here. So we decided we'd pull into that cove and anchor and wait for the storm to die. And by the way, we were tired. I'd spent a half an hour pulling muddy rope up with the anchor, and we'd been through the storm. The boat had been tipped over sideways. The ice box had spilled everything out. The inside of the cabin was a mess, and so we pulled into. We more or less motored into that little cove, and threw out I had two anchors, so we threw out the good anchor that wasn't all muddy and everything. Threw it off the bow, and then let the boat. The wind was blowing us into the cove, so I threw that off the bow, and then it grabbed the bottom, and then we swung around so that then the bow was facing out of the cove, and the stern was in the cove, and we were way back towards the back, and so we were pretty safe. It was calm, but the wind was still blowing. And so I thought, well, because we were dead tired, so I thought, well, I'm going to anchor the back so it won't sway back and forth so much. So I took the dirty rope and the anchor I had spent so much time pulling up, and I threw it out and tied up to a cleat on the back of the boat, and that kind of kept it pretty tight. Although it wasn't, as the story goes, it wasn't tight enough. So once we got that done, we had been fighting the storm by this time for I don't know, maybe 2 hours straight, and I mean it was a struggle. So sailing is fun, you know. So anyway, so we got everything tied down, and we just went up to the bow where the bed was and crashed. And I don't know what time, I can't remember times, but we were so tired that I don't think we woke up for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. We just died. And the boat was anchored, so we had nothing to be too concerned about. So that was good, and we got all rested up. And then when we woke up, and I looked at the stern anchor was gone. I mean, the rope was gone. Everything was gone. It was actually. Let's take a closer look at the cove. Somewhere in that cove, there's my old anchor, and about 50 feet of line or so, maybe 60, laying on the bottom. Because as the tail end of the boat swung just slightly back and forth, it loosened the knot or it's not a knot, it's a knot, but anyway, a cleat knot, and it loosened that. And in the process, by the way, this at the top of the screen, that's where in a previous video using the Mavic Air 2, I filmed the earth mover and the grader, and that's where that was. So anyway, we woke up, and I think we probably had something to eat. We cleaned up the mess in the boat as much as we could out there, and we waited and waited and waited until the storm died. And I guess later that evening, we were able to sail on home. One other story that goes with that little cove is another time we were sailing, and we decided we'd go into that cove. And I think, wait a minute, I'll have to save that story, because what's happening now, as I finish this part of the video, as I was flying, my iPhone, decided that it was going to start going dim. So it went a little bit dim. That was all right. But I thought I better start heading back. And so I started coming back, and you'll notice that I didn't do a screen recording. That's another thing. With the iPhone, I've got a good screen recorder, but in the summertime, running the screen recorder warms up the phone also. So rather than having the phone get warm before it's time, I don't do a screen recording. But anyway, so I'm just kind of going along slow, headed home, and realized all of a sudden the phone screen started going dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. And at this point in time, I know we got a good video here, but on my phone, it was so dim I couldn't tell which house was which. And so I started dropping down and losing altitude and looking at everything that I could see. And once I got about somewhere in here, I noticed, I figured out that I was over my son's house. And so then I decided I better start turning in. And I could still see outlines of things, but it was getting darker and darker. And so I came around, and then by this time I could hear the drone up above me, so I knew it was home. But by this time the screen was totally dark, and I couldn't see. You can see me standing there. I couldn't see anything on the screen. So I brought it down and brought it down and brought it down to where I could look up and see it with a line of sight. And then once I got it to about here somewhere, I was able to see it. And then I'll just let you follow it all the way in. But anyway, so I brought it around by just visually, and the camera was pointing down. I didn't even think about that. But then as it got closer to me, I raised the camera up so that the video would show me coming into land. So anyway, I'll finish the story of the Air Cove in one of my future videos. I want to thank you for watching, and God bless.